Let's go! Are you kidding me? The great Tommy Moffitt liked my tweet. Let's go! And I just want to get this out there. I am available to play. I'm a proud LSU graduate. I got 4 years of eligibility left. I was a good pass rusher in high school. So, if you need me, LSU football, I am here. It's my dream to play for my alma mater. Let's go. Let's actually talk about Tommy Moffitt, because to me, he's actually the coach that was most heavily impacted by this entire thing we're dealing with. And I know everybody's strength and conditioning coach at their college is the best in the business. It is said everywhere. But honestly, Tommy Moffitt is the best in the business. Go on ahead, subscribe. We're over 500 subscribers. Let's go. And of course, we got the live stream on Tuesday nights and an extra live stream special announcement at the end of today's video. So yes, I'm dead serious. I'm willing to play and do anything for LSU football. I'm happy Tommy Moffitt liked my tweet, but the truth is I was already going to do an episode about him. And I've met him a few times, don't know him overly well, but he's done something that we don't quite talk enough about. So the first thing is that Tommy Moffitt's been at LSU forever. He and the head athletic trainer Jack Marucci have both been there 20 years. And the reason why he's been so good at LSU for so long is because he doesn't treat himself like a know-it-all. The first thing I want to mention is the strength and conditioning coach that has been on most commercials and has been the most famous is Scott Cochran at Alabama. Scott Cochran, okay, that's a weird name to say, is the most famous strength and conditioning coach. He's been on commercials. Tommy Moffitt hasn't reached the same level of fame, but he should, because Scott Cochran learned under Tommy Moffitt. That's why Saban brought him over, because Cochran was a Moffitt disciple. See, it makes sense. Also, I've seen strength and conditioning coaches at LSU go to other SEC schools, so it's pretty clear that he's the most respected SEC strength and conditioning coach. And this is a guy that's not even from Louisiana. He's from Tennessee. So he's gotten offers, in fact, to move elsewhere, but he has stayed at LSU. Now, there was a huge $1 million development that happened with LSU's equipment from last year to this year. And of course, everyone talks about the $28 million locker room. While that is nice, it doesn't impact the program as much as this technology. It's called PERCH. And I'll link a great YouTube roundtable that Moffit did, and this was the basis of this video. I watched it a few months ago, and it's fascinating how much info is packed into this video. And it wasn't just Moffit, it was also Jeremy Jacobs, who's also a strength and conditioning coach, who knows a lot about this industry. And he did it with the PERCH staff. So, this happened, and this story is about to get crazy, and I want you to stick with me because only my LSU diehards care about this info, okay? So, PERCH is actually a pretty new technology, and they've picked up a few other clients since LSU, like Duke, a few NFL teams, but PERCH's founder, Jacob Rothman, who was an MIT graduate, was looking for someone who's progressive, was searching the internet for the strength and conditioning coach that is open to change. I cannot repeat this enough. After doing some background research and speaking to my sources, it is crazy how set in their ways some strength and conditioning coaches are. But Moffitt's not like that. He delegates. He's willing to learn. And because of that, Rothman reached out to Moffit himself. Moffit not only opened the email, he immediately opened up the line of communication. Rothman of MIT flew down with this PERCH technology. I won't get too into the nitty-gritty with what it is, but basically, it is a camera that straps onto the top of a squat rack or any piece of equipment, and it monitors your every movement of the lift. It not only monitors how you lift, but how fast you lift the weight. And it's all cloud-based, user-friendly interface where a player just touches a little iPad on the screen and puts in his name and records their info. And because you have that technology, it allows you to empirically figure out what is the best way to train an athlete. With that information, LSU empirically puts it into a computer. It's able to discover how athletes recover. And it's not just making that athlete faster or stronger. They also, with jumping data now, and this isn't necessarily PERCH based, but it all kind of ties in, they're able to judge the amount of force you're able to jump with. So, basically, with all this technology, it's not so much how high you jump, it's how quick you jump. It's not necessarily how heavy you lift something. It's how fast and smoothly you lift something. But the most important thing to me, what this data does, is it gives you info on how hard you should work the athlete the very next day. And with that information, they could see, and Moffit brought this up in a live stream, this is just a random name here, but Justin Jefferson, if he on the little jumping pad, the force plate, did not jump with the same force as he did the day before, they know to give Justin Jefferson a lighter workload in practice. And here's the thing, Ed Orgeron really doesn't look at that information. It is up to Tommy Moffitt and the strength coaches to compartmentalize this data, look at it empirically, give it to Les Miles, tell Ed Orgeron, hey, we need to not work this athlete as hard today. The problem is that not all athletes had access to this during the dead period. In fact, there's a lot of athletes that don't even squat, which is the most important thing you do at LSU. Moffit said that if you don't know how to squat, they're going to teach you how to squat. That is how important that one exercise is to the entire backbone of the program. It's fascinating because, you know, there were stories of Miles Brennan at his home in Mississippi having to lift logs. Now, that's great. It's a good story. Miles is a hard worker. But, yeah, you don't know how much weight specifically is on the log. You don't know if the log has a similar amount of weight on both sides. A big thing, and I mean it's a huge thing. It helps them, in fact, determine whether or not an athlete has concussions, is by looking at the data, they want an athlete to be balanced on both sides. When you jump on that force plate and you're not bringing as much force on one side of your body or the other, or if you land weirdly, they'll let you know that you're not all there recovered from a concussion or any type of injury. You see, it gets very detailed here. But anyway, just talking about Miles Brennan in specifically, yeah, it's great that he's lifting logs. It's great that he's working out, but he doesn't have the exercise scientist on his side. That's different than Miles Brennan being able to FaceTime Coach O to talk about strategy, or FaceTiming Scott Linehan or Steve Ensminger. In fact, the athletes on their own threw a lot. I saw a lot of videos of Max Johnson and Coy Moore throwing, and you know, you can set up your own exercises, but when this equipment, which helps LSU out so much, is not available everywhere. In fact, LSU is one of the few places to have this technology right now. It really stunts the development of the athlete the way that LSU wants to develop them. And I've read different interviews with Tommy Moffitt to get ready for today's video. He said he's needed about a month. Well, here's the thing. Behind the scenes, we don't know who's been failing tests. We don't know how the workouts have actually gone. And on top of that, because PERCH is very iPad, touchpad technology, you know, you can't work out as efficiently if you got to clean it. You got to be careful who's touching it. And because they were all out for so long, conditioning really plays an even bigger role. You know, the Advocate brought this up. One of the best athletes on LSU's team was, you know, Kerry Vincent Jr., who's not here this year. Jamar Chase, who was one of the hardest workers in the weight room. It's no longer there. So you've lost some leaders when it comes to this type of stuff. But what's crazy is I've been mentioning PERCH the entire time. Remember, data is unlimited. And I was looking at some of the slides from this PERCH YouTube video. They track every rep. There was over 10,000 reps per exercise, whether that be bench press or power clean or squat, that they determined and that they studied. And these red numbers are the percentile of the velocity of how fast and efficiently they lift every one of those weights. I'm telling you, it gets very complex. So you see, not having this data and not being able to track athletes and fast tracking them and getting ready for the season and not working them too hard for them to be tired on the field, it's made it very difficult. But I want to brag on Moffit before I get out of here, because football and life in general is a sport about change. If you're not willing to change, you will be left in the dust. And what program is better to highlight than this very thing? Because Ed Orgeron knew he had to change how he was as a coach. He knew he had to change the offense. You know the story. Tommy Moffitt, who has a wealth of knowledge, who has put all these other strength and conditioning coaches into these other SEC programs, who widely is known as one of the best strength and conditioning coaches in the country. He said to himself, there's better stuff out there. I've got to change. I don't know it all. And on top of that, the data itself is something that he actually doesn't crunch entirely. He has a huge staff. The PERCH data is actually crunched by a guy by the name of Vic Valoria. The polar data is Jeremy Jacobs and Tim Johnson. And the force plate data, one of my favorite LSU lead blockers ever, Connor Neighbors. One heck of a fullback at LSU and a very critical component of the staff. On top of that, LSU has 9 nutrition scientists that actually studies an athlete's recovery and all that. They'll come over and look at the data, look at how an athlete works out, and they can determine what minor adjustments they can make along with Tommy Moffitt to make the athlete's recovery or development happen that much faster. Like I mentioned this before, Ed Orgeron is a football coach. LSU athletes, and these are Moffitt's words, go to LSU to play football, not to lift weights. So there's a lot of weight, pun intended, on the shoulders of Tommy Moffitt to get these athletes ready on his own accord. Think about it. Ed Orgeron's busy. I mean, you saw the 60 Minutes piece, right? He's recruiting nonstop. Do you think he has time to look at polar data and VMI and all these very intense empirical numbers? No. It's got to be delegated, and it's got to be processed by an entirely different coach, because lifting weights and playing football are 2 completely different things. So because Moffit decided to change, brought in PERCH, brought in all this new technology, not only did he do that, he delegated a lot of these tasks and trusted these assistant strength coaches to look at these numbers, make adjustments, and then on top of that, with all this data you have for all these exercises, you have to cut the fat of that data, focus in on that, and make that be your main focus on how to help an athlete get better. And one thing I was told, that one of the main things that they focus on, squat velocity. So next time you go squatting, and I see a lot of you at gym, well, I don't go to gyms anymore because of everything, but I see this a lot, and a lot of us are working out at home, and we're piling on plastic weights on these little bars. It is true. Your form matters so much. But that's it. You know, the fact that this man said, hey, I got to switch it up. There's better technology out there. Exercise science has evolved. I've got to take my game to a different level. That says a lot about a guy who also has a kid on the team, Aaron Moffit. So, you know, he's got a little more personal vested interest in helping this program reach new heights. I just gave you an empirical reason why Tommy Moffitt could be the best strength and conditioning coach ever. And on top of that, it's because he empirically studies how an athlete moves. And that right there, that man deciding to change, is the reason why LSU has hit a different level. Boom! Boom, boom, boom. What do you think of today's video? Do you agree that Tommy Moffitt is the most important coach for LSU as we get ready for this opening game? I cannot wait. I did freak out when he liked my tweet. I'm not going to lie. But I do want to say, guys, thank you so much. The Tuesday night live stream, all right? We're going to throw it down. Tuesday nights this football season, 7 p.m. Our first live stream was last Wednesday. Lots of fun. And it's basically you guys bringing up questions about whether it's Joe Burrow and the pros or whether it's recruiting or Miles Brennan or whatever. So come be a part of our live stream. So, and this is subject to change, but we're going to try this out. After the LSU Mississippi State Week 1 game, we are going to do a live stream on this channel too. So that is our special live stream announcement. Tuesday nights at 7. And after the Mississippi State game, we'll do a live stream on this very YouTube channel. Let's go. So, subscriber shout out. Y'all, we're over 500. I cannot believe it. We've got to get to 1,000. 1,000, that is the most important number in YouTube. It really is. More important than 100,000 or a million, because 1,000 means that YouTube starts paying you for the videos. And I need this money. Come on, let's do it. So, Ron G, sorry I missed your first live stream. Hey, Ron. Guess what, man? We got plenty more coming. And our last video did have to do the 5 top targets for LSU's recruiting class. Left. Kyle Jones says an interesting player here, LJ Johnson. I like LJ, a running back out of Texas. He's an LSU legacy. I just don't think he's as high of a priority now, simply because LSU does have Corey Kiner. And there's a secret. Shh. You remember that one 2021 commit I like a lot? There's a secret I want to share with you. And I love this player so much. But anyway, Corey Kiner is already committed. So Kamar Wheaton's still on the board. Armani Goodwin's still a long shot. But I think LJ Johnson still could end up being an LSU Tiger. Boom. We'll see ya. Live streams. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Pot roast kind of night, guys. Woo! Pot roast.